So if you want your rights, you have to hang on desperately to your responsibilities. You've got to grow up and be responsible. Now, there is a subset of the population that understands liberty better than everybody else in our population. And that subset of the population are adolescents, roughly college-age students. Now, college-age students have a visceral understanding of liberty. Now, they start out living at home with mom and dad, 3 or 4 bedroom home, cable TV, refrigerator full of food. How many college students are still living at home by the time they're 25? Very few. All of these college students are eager, anxious, excited about moving out of the house and getting their own apartment. And what does the first apartment look like? It's a small studio apartment. You know, a little tiny TV, maybe a bent-up coat hanger for the antenna, a small refrigerator with ice cubes and leftover bologna in the fridge. Why would anybody leave luxury and affluence to live just above the poverty level? Why would anybody do that on purpose? For liberty, for freedom. I'm going to decide what TV channels I watch. I'm going to decide when I finally go to bed at night. And what do we as parents concern ourselves with? Yes, but you realize you're going to have to be responsible for yourself. You're going to have to pay the rent. You're going to have to get your own car insurance. You're going to have to make enough money to survive. So the students are focused on liberty. The parents are focused on responsibility. But they are the same thing. If you want rights, you have to take the responsibility. Now, the third corollary is that the only limitation on your rights are the equal rights of others. To say this another way, you have a right to your property, but you do not have a right to someone else's property. Someone else has a right to that property. If you want that property, you have to buy it. Now, again, it is this misunderstanding of rights and privileges that causes so many people to misunderstand where your rights start and where they end. And again, the answer is property. Many people will tell me, I have a right to health care. It's certainly an exciting proposition. None of us wants to be sick, and we would like to think that we have a right to get healthy. However, none of us has a right to be born perfectly healthy. If a child is born with some deformity, are they going to file a lawsuit against the parents? Is there some negligence there that mom and dad, deliberately caused this to happen? No. Do you have a right to live forever? Are you immortal? No. Ultimately, every one of us is going to die. We would like to be as healthy as possible during that time, but if you pretend that you have a right to health care, that would imply that you can walk into a doctor's office and say, I'm sick, fix me. And you should be able to expect the doctor to fix you, to make you healthy for free, because you have a right to health care, don't you? How many people are willing to do your job for free? Anybody willing to do your job for free? Neither would I. So if we are not willing to do our jobs for free, then why should we assume that a doctor will do his or her job for free? Now, the argument is, well, don't worry about it, because the government is going to pay for your doctor. The government's going to make sure that doctor is well paid. Where does the government get the money to pay your doctor? In taxes. Ultimately, the government takes $100 out of my wallet. They keep $50 for overhead. And they give your doctor the other $50. Wouldn't it be more efficient just to come into my apartment and take $100 yourself? Couldn't you just walk in and take $100 out of my wallet, and then you'd be able to buy twice as much health care? But there's a problem with your plan, because I am a strong Second Amendment supporter. And if you come into my apartment and take $100 out of my wallet, you're going to need twice as much health care. You do not have a right to my property. You do not have a right to my $100 for your health care, for your education, for your housing. You don't walk into a restaurant and order the most expensive thing on the menu and then give the bill to the person at the next table. If you don't have enough money in your wallet, then you don't get steak or lobster. You buy what you can afford. And health care is no different. We all need food to survive. We all need health care, but you only deserve as much health care as you can afford. You do not have a right to health care, and you do not have a right to your neighbor's money to pay for that health care. Anytime you take money from someone else, that is theft. If you turn around and use that money to buy ice cream for the orphans, that does not make the action philanthropy. You've still stolen that money. It wasn't your money to take in the first place. If you take someone else's money, that is theft. And if you ask the government to take that money for you, then it is government-assisted theft. And I am opposed to all kinds of theft, especially government-assisted theft. So, the basic concept in this chapter, again, is the difference between rights and privileges. A right is something that you can do without asking. A privilege is something that someone of a higher authority allows you to do, and they can take that privilege away at any time. And associated with the idea of rights, all of your rights derive from property. Every right has a responsibility associated with it, and the only limitation on your rights are the equal rights of others. In other words, you have a right to your property, but you do not have a right to someone else's property. Does anybody have a question?
People sometimes make claims for rights regarding things that traditionally haven't been viewed as property, like clean air. They say they have a right to clean air. How do you square that with this notion of rights based on property?
Well, clean air and clean water are frequently an issue that people bring up because it is difficult to decide who owns it. If you are crawling through the desert and I have bottles of water, I mean, I clearly own that water because I've bottled it and I've carried it and I've made it available in the desert. But as the rain falls, and you have a river going through your property,